RegEx is in Excel now, and I'm so excited to show you just how powerful that is. But I know for many of you, regular expressions are a little off-putting, to say the least. They're a new syntax to learn, full of weird characters and symbols that look like gibberish at best, if not some form of incantation that magically spits an answer out on the other end. The reality is that you're unlikely to be doing anything particularly complicated with RegEx in Excel, so knowing just a few little tips and tricks will mean you're able to do some really powerful text manipulation. But if you do find yourself doing something like email address validation in Excel with RegEx, you can just go online and find a tried and tested RegEx expression that does exactly that. Today, we're going to look at one of my all-time favorite RegEx characters, and that is B. As you may know from phonetics, B stands for boundaries, and that's exactly what it does. It helps us find the boundaries between words and non-words, or vice versa, and this includes boundaries between the beginning or end of a sentence and a word. This is a lot cleaner than some of the more traditional approaches for doing this kind of work in Excel, and we're going to explore those traditional approaches alongside the RegEx approach right now in an example worksheet, which I'll attach below. We have here a list of reviews for our hat making company. Some of these are pretty musical, such as "You can leave your hat on" or "Finishing the hat." Some of them are just a little bit quirky, and some of them have got nothing to do with hats at all. We have a little control here, which tells us what we're looking for, and we have some measures up here, which will become apparent as we go through some of these examples. The most traditional approach to this in Excel is to use search. So we look for a word in a sentence, and that will return the index within that sentence where that word starts. So hat starts at the 20th character in this sentence. If we did this on not advertised way too small, which doesn't contain the word hat, we're going to get the value error. So what we do is we wrap this in isNumber, which will give us a true if it's in the sentence and a false otherwise. We can see that this gives us 16 correct trues and 6 correct falses. It doesn't give us any errors returned, it doesn't give us any incorrect falses, but it does give us 6 incorrect trues. These are what you might traditionally call a false positive, but I didn't want to call trues a false positive because it just messed with my little brain. We can see our false positives here. They are chat, that, we've got hated, we've got what. Essentially, anything that contains the word hat within another word is incorrectly being marked as containing the word hat. This is known in programming as the Scunthorpe problem. I'll let you work out the details on that one. But we can replicate this exact behavior with RegEx using RegEx literals. We are going to use the RegEx function RegEx test to give us trues and falses. We're looking in our text here. If you look at this, and then our pattern is going to be literal, the word hat. Now that's going to give us some slightly, oh, I didn't lock it. There we go. That is going to give us some slightly different results because search is text case insensitive, but we can make RegEx case insensitive by making our final argument 1 to completely replicate those results. All this is doing is exactly what search was doing. It's looking for the word hat. Let's look at some more Excel-based approaches then to try and split this out. One thing you could do is you could take the same approach and you could add a space before and after what you're looking for. So we're going to use the ampersand to concat that with our spaces. This is giving us a slightly different result. We are no longer getting some false positives, but we are getting those incorrect falses, those false negatives, because in this case, hat is the end of the word. In this case, it's followed by an exclamation mark and so on. We could try and do this a slightly different way. We could use a more modern Excel function, text split, to split this sentence out by the spaces to get all of the words, and then compare each of those words with our word hat. This will give us falses and trues, and if any of those are true, then we've got the word hat, and that should deal with hat being within words because it's not going to match that exactly. This is still case insensitive because of how Excel normally handles strings, so we're still going to get cat in the hat, but we're still getting a false here because we've got that exclamation mark. We can actually put more than one argument in our text split function. So we can make this an array to say include full stops and exclamation marks. We can see that this is now giving us a little bit of a better result than here, but we've still got some incorrect falses. We can see we need to add in a comma. We can add in a comma. That's going to give us a little bit better again, but we're still missing a dash because someone hasn't included spaces there. A question mark. We've got quotation marks. So let's add all of those in. So we had a dash, we had a question mark, and we had just quotation marks, which we need 4 of those in a row to get that to work in Excel. And that's doing really well. That's picked up everything apart from where hats was a plural, and that's going to be a sticking point anyway. However, as soon as someone comes in with some sort of other punctuation, say an interrobang or something else, let's see, put on your hat. Let's call this semicolon, for example. Put on your hat, toss your cane. That's now going to be false. It's not reactive to what we're getting in. Now, there is a pretty complicated way of doing this in Excel to make it reactive. I'm going to show you that right now, but please bear with me because then we're going to do the RegEx version, which is so much simpler. But we need to go the complicated route so we can see how simple that is. The first thing we're going to need is a list of all the letters of the alphabet. There's loads of ways you could do this. You could type them out. I'm just going to use sequence with 26 columns, starting with the Unicode for the letter A, and then turning those all into characters. As I said, this is already getting quite complicated. We then need to H-stack all of these with the lowercase version of these, as well as all the numbers from 0 to 9. That will give us the list of everything that's in a word character. The regex word boundary actually counts an underscore as a word character, so I'm just going to include that as well so that it is consistent. We can then text split our sentence by this entire array. That is going to give us... I didn't make that dynamic. There we go. That is going to give us all sorts of things going on. We've got all the spaces, but we've also got some blanks in there. And I'll show you what I mean by that, because if we then use that as our input for splitting our thing, we're going to get an error. That's because we've got blank strings in there. So I'm just going to filter those out. There we go. That gives us all our words, and we can then go as we did before, wrapping it in an OR statement. That is now a fully reactive version where the only falses are these ones here, and even if we put in some weird punctuation, let's put hat in brackets, it's still going to automatically pick it up. That is great. However, if we just had the word hat, this would throw a calculation error, which is not what we want. I forgot our name on this one as well. There we go. Finally, we're going to look at how to do this with regex, and I think this is so much simpler. We're going to do just like we did before. We're going to take our regex test from over there, but now we are going to surround it with \b, just like we surrounded it with spaces in that extended isNumber search approach. Essentially, what this is doing here, if we pop that into this cell here, it's going to give us the word we're looking for with \b for boundary either side. This gives us the exact same result as our reactive split, with the additional benefit of it not breaking if you just have a single word. This is a great result. I think this is so much simpler. You don't need to make your list of word characters, split it out by one, split it out by the other again. You just do a nice simple search for in this text for the word I'm looking for with a \b either side. In my mind, this is so much simpler. I would love to know what you think as well. But you might be looking at this and saying we've still got some issues with the word hats. Now, there's a couple of ways we can get around this with regex. The first couple are a little bit more advanced with regex, but I'll show you a really simple version at the end, so please bear with me. The first is to simply add in the letter S and then a question mark. A question mark says to regex, I'm looking for this 0 times or 1 times. Essentially, is the letter S there? Question mark. And then we can use that as our regex search pattern. I'm just going to return our search pattern from there and lock it in. And that is going to pick up everything we're looking for. However, if we were looking for a word like peach, which obviously doesn't exist within our sentences, the plural for peach is peaches. And so that's not just adding an S on the end. So that gets a little bit complicated. So we might want something a little bit more reactive. In this case, we're going to need an additional word, which is what the plural of our word is. So for this, what we're going to do is we're going to turn this, we're going to get rid of the S and turn this into a capture group. So we're going to surround the word we're looking for with brackets. We're then going to add in a pipe symbol, the straight up and down symbol, as we've got here. And then we're going to add in our plural word. Now that pipe symbol means or in regex. So it's looking for hat or hats. And we can see again, that gives us exactly what we need. And that is actually what I am doing in my control variables. Finally, though, I know this looks a little bit too regexy for some of you, so we're going to find a more simple approach to this using the OR function in Excel. We're simply going to take our regex version from our regex column, which was giving us our two falses, and we're going to repeat this twice within an OR function. And in that second occurrence, we take out the equals, we're going to turn this to pull from our plural word instead. And so if either of those are true, we're going to get the result, which gives us that nice, clean final result. There we go. That is all you need to know for how to find a word within a sentence using regex. I think that is a lot simpler than the more traditional Excel-based approaches. You don't need to build out a whole list of characters, split by one thing, split back again. All you need to do is use that \b, the B character in regex. I would love to hear what you think of this, and if this was helpful, if this was a good introduction to some of the ways that regex is going to make your Excel work easier. Please leave me a comment down below if you'd like to see more of this kind of thing, and until next time, keep excelling.